Hello my lovely book besties, welcome back to my channel. If you don't know who I am, my name is China, or Chai as I go by because I hate my name, and welcome to our February reading wrap up. Yay! Oh wow, it was a very slow reading month. I think it's mainly because the books that I read were fantasy, and fantasy seemed to slow me down when I read, just because I have to like take them in a bit more than like normal romance or any sort of like romance books. I don't take as long to read, but with fantasy it seems to take me forever. So today we are going to go through the books I read, what I rated them, and if I would recommend them or not. So let's get on with the video. So I did a weird sort of reading month this month. I read, got my little book journal with me to help me figure out help me remember what I rated everything this month. I read 6 books in the month of February. I read 2 physicals and I read 4 ebooks on my Kindle. 2 of them were arcs and the other 2 were just ones that I didn't have physically, because a lot of them I have to buy online and it takes forever and I want to read it now. So Kindle's always the way to go. Ignore Spark of the Everflame on my thing. First book that I read in the month of February was Passenger Princess by Morgan Elizabeth. Honestly, this book was so funny and just cute and I loved it. If you don't know what it is, what the book is about, Passenger Princess is a romance between a bodyguard and a pageant queen. So essentially Ava wins a pageant one day, the Miss Americana I think, go visit like businesses, and she picks up women like run businesses, and so she's going to travel around the country and she gets put with a bodyguard and his name is Jamie. It is a grumpy sunshine. Jamie is the most grumpiest man ever, but he has a little soft spot for Ava and it's just, he is so cute. There's this one scene in Passenger Princess that I don't think I videoed when I was doing my February vlog, but he buys her all this ice cream that is dairy free and it's just he was so cute. I rated it 4.5 stars and I think I gave it like a 2 chili spice. I loved it and I just had a grand old time. I need more from her. The second book that I read, and it was Onyx Storm by Rebecca Yarros. This is the 3rd book in the Imperium series. I can't tell you much about it if you haven't read it yet, just because there were so many spoilers when this first came out. I narrowly avoided a lot of the spoilers, just so when I got to this I could just enjoy it. And when I say enjoy it, I cried. There was a scene at the end I literally sobbed for a whole hour. This book, issue I had with Onyx Storm though, the first maybe like I'll say 200 to 300 pages, so like half of the book, was just very repetitive. Like they were doing the same thing. It was them flying, visiting like different places. Yeah, there was a bit funny parts here and there in between it, but it just was very like slow and repetitive. There is one part though with Dane, and Dane gets slapped and he has to say thank you, and it is the most hilarious thing in this whole book, but the end of it shattered my soul, and now we have to wait God knows how long for the next book, and I'm real sad because I don't know how I'm gonna survive for this bloody book. I did give it a 4.5 stars. It would have been a 5-star if it wasn't so repetitive at the start. I gave it like a 1-star chili spice because not a lot happened. There was one scene, shadows and wrists, and I've been seeing so many TikTok videos of people trying to figure out the position of where they were on the chair. It's hilarious. But yeah, overall this book was an emotional roller coaster. What was it? The 3rd book that I read was No Promises, No Lies by AJ Wilding. I'll put the little picture up of there too. This was one of the arcs that I read in February. I never heard of this author until I think it came up on my TikTok or on my Instagram, of this author that was like an indie author that was kind of showing like her book off, and I was like, oh okay. I read the synopsis for it and I realized it was an arc, so I was like, okay, sure, why not? And yeah, I ended up getting it, so I read it, and from what I know, it is the dark mafia hockey romance. It is the Bratva and the Irish mafia. It's an enemies to lovers, slow burn. Oh, it is that. Oh, it's so good. It's like a marriage of convenience. It kind of keeps her alive and it was just such a good, like, I forgot how much I loved mafia hockey romance books, and it just got me back in from the slump that Onyx Storm was slowly getting me into, and I had to kind of break it up, so I ended up reading that. It was so good. I just was like hooked from the first page, and I ended up giving it a 5 stars, and I'm pretty sure I gave it a 3 chili spice. The 4th book that I read is another arc, and it's Captivating by Bella Matthews. It is the 4th book in the Red Lips White Lies series. I have read every arc. I've gotten every arc for this series, so I've read the first 3, and and then obviously I read the 4th one. It follows Killian and Lila. Killian is the brother of Brinley. She hasn't had her own book, but she has been sort of like dripped in a little bit through each book. This book is so confusing at times because so many of the like family members and like friends are so intertwined that I keep forgetting who is who. So essentially it's a childhood friends to enemies to lovers. Killian is a really like famous MMA fighter. Lila is a famous singer. She comes back to town after her tour, and she essentially asks Killian, who she didn't really want to because they sort of had an issue when they were younger, that stopped them from talking, and they've just not talked since. Comes up with a way to keep Lila safe, and Killian ends up living in her house so he can keep an eye on her. She's got to go with him to win her fights, and it just kind of goes from there. The tension is mwah, and just like it's beautiful to see them like come back from that friendship that was so torn and broken, and like there was a tiny bit of miscommunication, but once Killian like ended up telling Lila the reason why, like essentially why they like friendship got broken, that part, it's just beautiful finding how they come together and just they get married before his fight, and it's just I tell you this, I said this every time with each book that went, that each book was my favorite, but at the moment now this one is definitely my favorite because I think Killian and Lila's friendship and relationship blossomed so well together, and they had such a good connection, and it just was so good, just so good. And then the 3rd book that I read was The Sweetest Oblivion by Danielle Laurie. This is the 1st book in the Maid series. It is a mafia romance. I think it's a dark mafia romance. Her sister is arranged marriage to Nicholas Russo because essentially Elena is kind of not judged, but because she had in some random one time when she ran away from home, she had given her virginity away, and so that made her not pure enough, so her sister ended up having to be the one who gets put in the arranged marriage with Nicholas Russo. Weirdly enough, her sister also is not a virgin, but no one knew that at the time. And it's kind of like a sister's fiance, sort of like the tension. It's like a forbidden sort of romance, but like halfway through the book, she ends up getting engaged to him instead, and I was like, yeah, it was kind of just their relationship going from there. Like obviously you're mafia, so there's like a little push and pull from each side. The only part I did like about the book was that she ended up getting engaged to him instead. So I was like, I want more. I was wanting more like tension, more like running like behind everyone's back. There's one part in this book that is she ends up going into the gas station, and the gas station guy inside the gas station touches her because she didn't have money to buy for something, I think. So she goes outside, ends up telling like Nico what happened, and then he burns down the gas station because the gas station attendant touched her. That was the best part of the book. Despite the plot line of the book, the characters, especially Nicholas Russo, this man literally is like touch her and you die, literally. And it was just such a good like mafia romance book. I wanted to branch out more into mafia romance because I find when a fantasy book, if I go and read like a sports romance or a hockey sport or a mafia romance, I tend to like get back into the book again, and so that really helped finish Onyx Storm once I read The Sweetest Oblivion, and now I knew the next book. And then the last book that I read in February was The Spark of the Everflame by Pen Cole. This is the first book in the Kindred's Curse saga. When people say it's a slow burn. It's a slow burn. Like, still did not satisfy me, even at the end. If you don't know much about the Spark of the Air Flame, I'll read you the back so you know. When old secrets catch fire, everything will burn. In mortal world colonized by the gods and ruled over by the Descended, their cruel, magic-wielding offspring, Diem Bellator yearns to escape the insular life of her poor village. When her mother suddenly disappears and Diem discovers a dangerous secret about her part, she seizes an unexpected opportunity to enter the dark world of Descended royalty and unlock the web of mysteries her mother left behind. With the dying king's handsome, enigmatic heir watching her every move and a ruthless rebel alliance recruiting her to join the growing civil war, Diem will have to navigate the unwritten rules of love, power, and politics in order to save her family and all of mortal kind. I think I did say what this read the synopsis in the TBR prompt video for February, but I thought I would just refresh our minds together. So yeah, this book was very slow. It was a lot of world building. It's very slow burn. They didn't even kiss to the end of the book. So much happened after that. I can't say what happened because it'll spoil the book, but it ended on such freaking cliffhanger. I was jaw dropped when I read the part. I was like, huh? So I had an inkling of what I thought was going to happen, but I didn't expect her to be what happened. And I was like, I literally finished it and I was like, what did I just read? And even there's a bonus chapter in it too, and I was like, what? Because you don't get told what happened to Diem's mother and you never find out. So I'm like, when I read the end of it, I was like, what? It was just wild. The one issue I had with this was freaking her friend Henry pissed me off. This man literally was just like, marry me. And I was like, you've been friends for ages, but doesn't mean you essentially get married straight away. She has this sizzling sort of tension with beautiful Luther Corbois, and they had more fucking connection than her and Henry did. Her and Henry just slept together, and he kind of just made her feel super I think he just made her feel dumber. She didn't seem everything he said just I think put her down a little bit, and I just didn't like it. And I was like, no. So yeah, this book irked me, but I did end up giving it a 4-star, and it was a 0.5 chili spice because it wasn't super graphic. The one spicy scene we got and the kiss, it was much more a little bit was told and then it kind of went and then it was over. So it's not a super spicy book. But other than that, I did enjoy the end of the book. The first half was very slow, but it is a slow burn book, so I get why. 4 stars and a 0.5 chili spice. Okay, that is the end of my February reading wrap up for this last month, I should say. Enjoyed your reading month as well, and if you guys want to let me know what Hermione you read and what you if any of the books I read you read and what you ranked them to, so we can maybe chat. I'll make a TikTok video as well, so if you guys want to follow me on TikTok and Instagram, I'll put my handles up there. Up here, you'll see them somewhere. So if you want to, and please, if you would want to, click the little notify bell. It will notify you when I make any more videos. I hope you guys have a great reading month, and I hope we all read lots of different and exciting books this month. Okay, bye.